The Last King of the Ayleids by Hermania Cinna. The Ayleids, or Heartland High Elves, ruled Cyrodiil in the long ages of myth before the beginning of recorded history. One of the earliest recorded dates, in fact, is the fall of the White Gold Tower in the First Era 243, which commonly is assumed to mark the end of the Ayleids. Although Ayleid rule over all of Cyrodiil was indeed broken in the First Era 243, this was one of the most obvious stages near the end of a long decline. The first 2 centuries of the First Era saw increasing strife between the great Ayleid lords of Cyrodiil. Ayleids appears to have taken advantage of a period of civil war to launch her uprising. Imperial historians have traditionally attributed her victory to the intervention from Skyrim, but it appears that she had at least as much help from rebel Ayleid lords during the siege of the White Gold Tower. The popular image of the Ayleids as brutal slave masters is based in fact, of course, but it is less well known that a number of Ayleid princes continued to rule parts of Cyrodiil after 263 as vassals of the new Empress of Cyrodiil. This suggests that either the Ayleid rule was not universally detested, or that Ayleids and her successors were more pragmatic than is traditionally believed, or perhaps some of both. In any event, excavations at a number of Ayleid sites show continued occupation and even expansion during the so-called Late Ayleid period. At first, many Ayleid lords continued to rule as vassals of the new human regime. In some cases, Ayleid supporters of Ayleids were even rewarded with new lands taken from slain enemies. It is not clear to what extent human slavery continued under the Cyrodiilic Empire. Humans continued to dwell in the Ayleid-ruled areas of Cyrodiil, but there is nothing definitive to show under what terms. This was an uneasy relationship from the beginning, and was not destined to last long. Resentment at the continued presence of Ayleid nobles within the empire was a contributing factor to the rise of the so-called Ayleidian order founded by Maruk. The first victims of the Ayleidians were the Ayleids of Cyrodiil. In the early 300s, the surviving Ayleid communities in human-ruled areas were obliterated one by one, the refugees temporarily swelling the power of the remaining Ayleid lordships. Then, in 361, the Ayleidians gained control of the empire and enforced the Ayleidian doctrines throughout its domain. The Ayleid lordships were abolished. Enforcement of the decree does not appear to have required much direct violence. It seems that by this point, the balance of power was so overwhelmingly against them, and their fate so long foreshadowed, that most of the remaining Ayleids simply left Cyrodiil, eventually being absorbed into the elven populations of Valenwood and High Rock. Indeed, the rise of Durrani hegemony may be linked to the exodus of Ayleids from Cyrodiil. Still, a remnant of Ayleid population seems to have survived the rule of the Ayleidians, because we hear of the last king of the Ayleids joining the Battle of Glenumbria Moors, where the Durranis deceivably defeated the Ayleidians in 482. How this king's people survived the preceding century is unknown. We do not even know who they were, although recent research points to Nanalata as a possible resting place for the last king. Unfortunately, in the current state of the empire, funds are no longer available for proper scientific investigation of such extensive ruins, so the answer to these questions will have to be left to the future generations. Through such readings as The Last King of the Ayleids, you can see how much of an influence Ayleids had on Tamriel in the First Era. This was a woman born of humans and originally a slave to the Ayleids. This type of treatment was completely unjust. After all, the elves originally came from a continent south of Tamriel, known as Aldmeris, a place that is still not confirmed whether it is even real or a physical landmass. From there, they moved to the Somerset Isles. What had happened to Aldmeris since the elves who settled in Tamriel left is perhaps the oldest of all mysteries. For countless centuries, adventurers have sought the lost Aldmeris, only to return disappointed if they returned at all. Some say that Aldmeris was sunk into the sea by the angry gods of Aldmer. Others claim that elven homeland has left Mundus and will only return when the races of Mer are united as one. but let's not count on that one. As history clearly states, the land of Tamriel does not belong to the elves at all. The natives known as Cyrodiils walked these lands first and now are forced into slavery by these Daedra worshippers. However, with the help of the Nords and the other slaves, they were able to conquer the power-hungry and corrupt race. This is not the only time in our history where there is a great conflict that led to the extinction of a race. The two battles of Red Mountain are full of excitement as well as mystery. A new story awaits.